Okay, so before we start, today, I was about to start the first uh, technical classes. So, as I asked, do you guys have anything in your mind that we can go with that? Any use case? You guys think about it. Okay, if not, then I had one use case. It's a pretty much good use case for the banking domain. Where you can transfer the amount from one account to other account. That's one of the process because there we will initiate a process and we can also go with the approval process there that someone has to approve the this transactions going on. Also, we can also enable the customer search here. We can create a UI where we can go and search for the customers. So that is also one of the good features that we have. Usually this kind of search features is required for most of the applications, right, where you can go search for an employee or the search for the the customers, right? So we can have like this is a process like nowadays online banking we do ourselves, right? But it's more like the old approach where you visit the bank and you submit your request that I want to transfer my account from this particular account to some other account, right? So the employees initiate this transaction in the backend, right? So that's kind of workflow it is going to be. Is that okay? Are you guys okay with this one? Yes, no?
Yes, we can go with that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right then. So one more request I'm going to ask you guys, like, be interactive. Please do involve, participate in the questioning, and so that we can discuss more and more. All right. Now, if we are going with this one, so let's say the first step is going to be customer search, right? So if you say that we need to enable the customer search, so what do you think? What is the data model we need to have?
Like we'll be having customer name, customer ID, and if possible, his designation. That kind of properties will be using in the data model.
All right. So first of all, we will have a customer table, right? So the let's say first define the application name. Application name, I would say um, wire transaction. So I'll just say wire transaction. So this is going to be our name of our application, wire transaction. Now, if we say we should have one table, so wire transaction we can have a customer table, right? And customer table we can have the, as you said, the customer ID. So I'll say customer ID. It's going to be type of number integer, and then it will be also a primary key, right? What else? We will have first name. It's going to type of varchar, right? Maybe we can put the size of 25. We can have middle name, again varchar. Let's say 25 of size. We can have last name, varchar, 25 size. What else? What do you guys think? We can have it.
Account number.
Account number. Great. Yeah, account number. If we put it everything here, right? It's going to be purely. See, do you guys know what's the concept of how do we optimize a table? First normal form, second normal form. Do you know about this thing? What is this? 1F, 1NF, 2NF?
Heard it, but not. It will be coming in databases concept, but not really like remembering.
Okay, fine. No worries. See, we can have account number here, right? Account number. We can have, let's say, we can have address. Let's say I put city. We can have, let's say, street, country, right? All the information we can have into the one table because all related information we can have it here. Now, what will be the issue now here is that this table may go very large, right? If I want to only work with these customer search, right, we don't need all this information, right? So what is that we can divide our table into these multiple sub tables. Now let's say account number can be a separate entity. where we can have the account details, right? We can have it's a type of your account. We can have the account number. We can have this account type. We can have this account status. You may have the amount in that, right? So what we can do, we can divide this table into two separate tables. So let's say I can create one account table. Okay. And now here we can define this account ID, right? And then we can have customer ID, and then we can have account type. We can have amount, right? We can have status. So what we are going to do is that we are going to link this customer ID to this customer ID here as a foreign key relationship, right? So we don't need to provide this account number details here, right? So we are divided this to the one NF, like one first normal form to second normal form. So we have divided this table. We have organized this table in a separate way so that we can make it very quickly searchable, right? We can relate this, and the table size will also be very, maintainable, right? We do not have to put everything into the same table, because if we do like that, the query will be very slow, right? So we need a faster execution. So we are going to define this way, just like the way we have defined this account information in the some other table. Same way we can have address table, right? So we can have address ID. We can have again customer ID, right? And then city. Now imagine a customer may have more than one address, right? Then how you gonna define it here, right? So it will be very complex. Now in this case, if the customer is going to have more address, it's very easy to maintain, right? We just have to map the customer ID, right? So one customer ID may have multiple addresses, right? So we can have primary address, secondary address, permanent address. Likewise, customer can have multiple, so we can divide it. So this is the part of 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, that you are normalizing the tables. Okay, got it? Clear? Is that clear, guys? What's the normalization of the table?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So here, okay. So we have customer ID, first name, middle name, last name. We can have the DOB. It's going to be type of date. We can have email. It's going to be varchar, let's say 100 characters long, and then um, gender, varchar, let's say 5 characters long, and then come on, guys. What else?
Mobile number.
Exactly. Mobile. It's going to be varchar. Maybe we can have plus 91 kind of things. Then we can have while number characters, and then we can have is active. Let's say if something requires, we will add it later. Boolean. I mean, it's Boolean, then it will be tiny integer in the database. Tiny int. Okay. So yeah. So this is what the customer table we can have, right? And then if you want to search the customers based on the particular name and all, we can do that. Okay. So this is what we define the data model. For any application development, first thing that you keep in your mind is that your data model should be, I would not say that 100% correct, because 100% ready, but try to make it, as you know uh, almost 100% that you do not have to make change later, because changing the data model is always a big task, right? So try to keep your data model, in a very good shape that you can use it. Always updating is fine, but never try to delete any columns. Let's say we're gonna create this column, right? So deleting is fine, you can do that. I'm not saying that you cannot do that, but always avoid to delete something. So let's say I will say that I don't need a middle name, and let's go and delete it. So better not even creating it, right? Or if you are going to delete it, if you have somehow you have created that, right, leave it blank. Don't do anything with that one, but don't delete it, because deleting may break your application. We don't know where we are using this one, right? So we should be always keep in mind that in development, if you are going to add something, which is fine, because we know that if we are adding this particular new column, we will be using it some other places. But deleting, we cannot guarantee. It may be that we can, use somewhere else, or is an existing code, we don't know where it is being referenced. So if you delete this one, that will start breaking, right? So always keep in mind that do not delete any column if you create it. Initially fine, but after like 5 months or 6 months of development, you should not be deleting anything. It may cost you trouble. All right, so this is the table that we have. We can define this data model, we can create a table out of it, and then we can have the information, and then we will create certain queries to fetch the information from this table, and then we can also create some UI where we can display this one. All right, we go and we create this table. Now let's go and first of all create the application that we want to use. So let me share my screen. Have you guys created your credentials in community?
No, sir. Can you provide that details for
I did
practicing?
yesterday. I put it into the message, right? The community link. Yesterday I given that URL. Let me put it again. Okay, I'm
Yes,
pushing in
please.
the chat.
Yeah, I got it.
Put it in the chat, please. Okay. All right. Now data model is fine. We have created one customer table that we will require, which is fine. Now, how do we start creating our application, and what are the things we can see under our application? We'll see that. Okay. So we click on the new application, and then we have given the name of our application is wire transaction. Okay. Now, if you see this one, the prefix of your application is automatically considering the first letter of your word, wire transaction WT. So this is going to be prefix of our application. Whatever object you will create, that will initiate with WT. If you want to change it, you can do that. Now, put a good description about this one. This application is for uh, amount transfer process. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of this checkbox? This checkbox says that generate the groups and folder to secure and organize your objects. So, we will be creating certain whatever the objects we will be creating, right? The rules, expression rules, the documents, and so for that we will have a folder structure. If you don't check this checkbox, we need to create that manually. If you are going to create this checkbox, it will create it automatically. That's what it does. So when we go with this checkbox option checked, there are 7 objects it is going to create. We'll discuss about those 7 objects one by one. All right, I'll say create. So you see there are 2 objects it also created, that WT administrator and WT users. It's initiating with the prefix administrator and the user. 2 groups are there. We'll talk about these groups as well. This is just saving this application. I'll say save. Okay, just 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's talk about the objects that it has created. So we have this explode option. If you go to the build option, inside the build option, you will see all those objects mentioned here. So we have 2 groups. You see this red color is in the groups. We have one process model folder. We have one document folder. This is another document folder. We have knowledge center, and then we have this rule folder. So what is this group? First of all, the group is basically we want to secure our application. Okay, let's say there could be many users, right? Who doesn't require this application access, right? So how do we secure them? We secure them by using the group. Okay, So whoever user is required to access this application, we need to put them into this group. Okay, if you click open this particular group, right, you see this one, as I was the member creating this one, so I added this group here. I mean, the member is being added. Now if I want to add any new member, I just click on the add members here, and then we can select the user to be added here. So whoever I will add it here, those user will only have the access of this application. Okay, so that is the use of groups. Okay, now we have this folder of the process model folder. You see this one blue color icon, it says the process model folder. It means that whatever the process model we will be creating, we will be saving it inside this particular folder. Now we have this folder called green color document folders. These are the folders where we need to keep the documents. All right, now we have a knowledge center. So all these document folders are part of this knowledge center. As a we have given one parent folder structure. This in Appian we call it as a knowledge center. So all this group will be part of this one. If you open this knowledge center, you will see that these two folders are inside this one. Okay, so this is kind of a parent folder structure of your application where all this document folder will be inside it. And then we have one folder called rule folder. This rule folder basically keeps all your objects like expression rules, constants, interface rule that we will be creating. We will be saving it here. Okay, any question, guys? No. Okay, now let's see what are the objects we have in Appian. First of all, okay, we go to the
After
new.
creating the new application, where we can go and check these all records, what you are showing now?
Here, I mean, we created this application just now, right? This wire transaction.
Yeah.
So you click on it, it will go inside this. Okay, so we just created a new
Okay.
application, right, by clicking this option new application, and then we retain this checkbox. When we retain this checkbox, what will happen is that none of the object will be get created. We have to create it manually, but if you check this checkbox, it will get created. Okay, so we come to this designer application, we application is created, we go inside and we'll see all these objects. Okay, all right, now let's discuss about the objects that we have in Appian, which will help us to create this application. That we'll talk about one of each of them. So first is the data type. What is a data type? Any in general term, what's a data type? Anyone? What is a data type?
Means like basically, if we are storing something, the type
Mm-hmm,
of it, like if we are storing integers or text properties or that
mm-hmm,
kind of will all be coming into one kind of a data type. Like if we want to
okay.
store like multiple columns and
Mm-hmm,
for suppose customer will come into a data type like the example which was given previously, that whole
okay.
can be considered as a one data type. Like we are storing all customer ID, his name, his account number, everything will
Mm-hmm,
be coming in that data type, and we can name it as like customer table or customer data type, that kind, and we can use it in the application.
all right. So okay, fine. That's, yeah, correct. So data type, right? We are using this data type. So what is the primitive data type? Have you heard about this term? Primitive data type. It's a very general term. It's for C, Java, C++, everything. All the language you talk about, it's there. So what is a primitive data type?
Integer, character, float.
Exactly, yeah. So integer, character, float, double, date, these all are individuals. Data types are called primitive data types, right? When you collect all this type of primitive data types and create one structure, we call this as a data type, in custom data type in Appian, CDT. Okay, custom data type. So what is a CDT? CDT is like when you are going to collect multiple information, right, at one place, to group it at one place, right? For example, that we created a customer table, right? So we have the customer ID as a type of number integer. We have the first name, middle name, last name as a variable character. Then we have DOB, which is a date. We have again is active as a tiny int, right? So these are different primitive data type we are collecting at one place to create one custom data type of our use. purpose, right? So that is called custom data type CDT. How do we create a CDT? There are 4 ways of creating the CDT. So once you click on this, let me show you again, new, and then click on this data type. Now there are 4 ways of creating the CDT. One is the from the scratch. And second is that duplicate. If there are any existing is there, you can duplicate it. Third option is that if you want to create the table from a database table or view directly, or the fourth is the export. If you want to export the XST file. Now this is the interview question. They may ask, what is a CDT? They will simply ask you what is a CDT and how do we create them. So the answer would be a CDT is a collection of primitive data types. Okay, and there are 4 ways of creating this CDT. So first is the scratch. Scratch, it means that you can manually enter the number of fields. Now let's say example, I'll say example CDT1. Okay, if you want to put some description, we can do that. Let's say from scratch. I'll say create. Once we do that, a new window will be open to create this CDT. Now you can add the fields here. Now you see I'm gonna click on the new fields, new field, new field, new field. Let's say I'm gonna create here customer ID. Okay, and then I'll say first name. I can say middle name. Okay, let's say uh, last name, and then we can have DOB. Okay, we can define the type. So customer ID is going to be number digit. First name is going to be text. Last name is also text. DOB we can have as date. Right. So simply we are creating this from the scratch by using new fields, adding the fields one by one. We can also define that this is going to be my primary key. So I just check this key icon and click on this primary key. I also say that let's create auto increment. So I'll just click on OK. Now you see this one is being added as a primary key. Right. If you want to add more fields, you can click on this add fields here. If you don't want, you can delete it. Okay. So this is the from the scratch you can create a CDT. Now you see, and why do we need a CDT first of all? This should be clear. Why do we need a CDT? Any general thinking process like why we need a CDT? Anything? Okay. Now let's say if you want to collect this information from the UI, if you don't create a CDT, for example of this, let's say for I want to create information from the UI, first name, last name, and DOB, we need to create 3 primitive variables, right? Now imagine if there are on the UI we have 10 fields that we need to collect. So we will require 10 primitive variables to collect this information, isn't it? Now it will be very tough to handle all those 10 different type of variables because there will be no link. How we can handle that? So to collectively bring in the function at one place, we need a CDT. Got it? Is that clear? Yes, no? Am I audible, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I mean, is that clear? Any question?
No questions, sir.
No, sir.
Please be interactive, guys. I mean, it will be otherwise very boring. I'll just come and speak and go. Doesn't make sense, right? All right. The other way is that, let me save these changes. The second way is that data type, if you say that it's a duplicate from the existing data type. Now, if we check the second checkbox, radio button, then it will say that which one you want to duplicate. So let's say I'm going to duplicate the one that I created, WT underscore CDT1. It's appearing in here. Now I'll just say that, okay, name it to as a 2, and then duplicate. Okay, I'll say create. So now I see that its second one has been created. It has all the same thing information. Now if I want to change it, we can change it as well. Now let's say I want to add one more here, is active. Okay, and I go and then I'll say it's a boolean. Okay, I'll say the changes. So we can also create from the scratch. We can also duplicate the one existing. Now you see there are two. So if we have added this is active under the second CDT, so it won't be available for the first one. Okay, because we are making changes in the second. Here it's not there. So got it? There's two ways of creating the CDT, from the scratch and from the duplicate one. Any questions?
So why are we duplicating in the first case? Like,
I mean, it's just given you one option. Let's say if you wanted to create a CDT which is already available and you wanted to replicate that one, right? So it's just giving you the option that you can also create it. You don't have to type it manually, all those things for your
okay,
easiness. Okay.
okay.
And then you can update it. All right. Now, the third option is called from the database table or view. Now, let's say we have one in-house database. So we are going to select this data source. Data source is like which database you want to connect. As we see in the demo classes, that we can also add a different data source. Like say, for example, if you are going to add the Oracle data source, that will be listed here. So now we have only one, the in-house database. So we are going to select that one. Now it says which table you want to connect. So let's say I'm going to LMS underscore employee. So this is the table that we have in our system. I want to create a CDT based on this one. I'll just select this LMS employee here. This table. Let me show you this table as well. Give me a second. This is the table we are going to select. Okay. Now you see it has employee ID, first name, middle name, last name, email, DOB, mobile number is active. This is the information we have. Now, if I'm going to create a CDT out of this table, what will happen is that if you click on continue, you see that it will give all those information available here from the table. These all columns are coming from the table. Okay, so I'll come to this checkbox. Let me first remove this one. This is for data store. We'll talk about that. Okay, so all the column that we have in our table is now being added here. It also suggests you the name WT underscore LMS employee. Okay, so if you want, you can change as well. If you don't want, if you are okay with this, keep it like that. Now, one best practice you should follow here is that the field name that we are going to use should be camel casing. So you can copy paste from the table that we have. By default, it takes all in the smaller case. So we can have this as a camel casing. So this is what Appian suggests, that always try to use camel casing for your field names. Okay, if I say create, now you see that the third CDT that we have created, you can see it here, the third CDT, it's called WT LMS employee that we have created. Now it has this many number of fields. So we haven't created this field manually, right? We just selected the table, and then according to the table, whatever the column it has, it's been created here. Okay, is that clear? Any questions? So we also don't have to define the primary keys and all, because this particular was the primary key into the table. So from the table, we just created a CDT. Any question, guys?
Sir, in case if we forget the camel case, will there be any issue? Like sometimes we do
No, there
forget,
will
right?
not be any issue. It won't be breaking anything, right? It just I can suggest that you should follow the best practice to use the camel casing.
Okay.
Anything else? So we have seen three options: from the scratch, duplicating the one, and then from the database table or a view. No questions? Okay. All right. Now the fourth option that you can see here is called import the XST. So what is the XST? So every CDT that we create has its XST information within it. Now let's say, let me open you the first one. If you go to the setting icons and download the XST, right? I have downloaded for the first one. Okay, now let me download the for this table one. Download the XST. So two XST file I have downloaded. Okay, let me show you one by one. Hmm.
అబ్బా, ఇవే చూస్తాను.
Okay, let me share my screen. Legend of Belt. Yeah, here it is. Okay, now you see this one here, right? So this is for the example CDT1 that we created manually. Now this is the XST information. So you can also create a CDT by using this XST. If you have this XST knowledge, we can create that. You can create this XST file and you can create a new CDT. Now you see this one. Inside that we have schema, and schema is ending at the last, and each schema has a different complex type. That complex type is the name of your CDT, and then we have different elements. So each element represent one column in your CDT. Okay, one field or attribute, whatever you can say. Now you see this one. The first element is called customer ID. Right? It is having at the rate of ID and at the rate of generated value. These are called JP annotations. So another questions will be there. What are the JP annotations into the NXST file? So you can say there are few JP annotations, which one are like at the rate of ID, which represent that this particular column is a primary key. At the rate of generated value, which represent that this particular column is also an auto increment. Okay, at the rate of column represent that column attributes like what is the length, what is the it's nullable true or false or not. So these are things we can define. We also have at the rate of table, which we can see in the another XST that we created from the table. So this is the XST file. If you want to create a CDT out of it, you can create like by using this XST file. We'll see how do we create that. The one that we created from the database table or view, it has more information in terms of the XST file. Why? Because it has lots of information coming from the table. So it has the schema starting and ending at the top level, and then complex type, the name of the CDT. Now you can see also at the rate of table attribute here, the JP annotations, which represent that what is the name of the table. Okay, so the question will be like, what are the JP annotations we have in Appian, or in the XST file, or they may say that what are the JP annotations directly. So you can mention that a JP annotations are the attributes of an XST file which represent the attribute of the tables and then its column properties. They will say what are those. You can say at the rate of table, which represent the which table it is being created. At the rate of ID, it represents that it's a primary key. The particular column is a primary key. At the rate of generated value, meaning that it's a auto increment column. And then at the rate of column attribute, mention that what's the name of the column in the table, is nullable false or not, it's a unique, is true or not, what's the column definition, it's an integer. Okay, so these, if you explain about like 1, 2, 3, and 4 JP annotations, which is fine. If they ask do you have any other JP annotations, there are, but you can mention that no, I haven't come across the other annotations, we have used only this one, which is fine. Okay, so this is the, you see we have multiple columns, so different elements are here. All the elements represent one column into the table. Okay, so
Sir, I have a doubt. Are you there?
Sorry, that was my daughter. Okay, any questions here, guys? I mean, do you understand what an XST file? Now, let's say I want to create one more element here. I can copy this and I'll paste it here. I will
Sir,
name this as, sorry,
I have a doubt.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this format, what do we call it? It's a little bit related to SQL or what? Like
It's
the
an XST file, XST.
so this is like a totally different format. Like
Yes, this is a different form. This is the Colosity schema. It's not an XML file. It's a XST is a different schema that we have these annotations and all. Okay. Now, let's say I want to add. I will copy this one.
So can we add attachment data type here?
Attachment. That you mean to say the document?
Yes, yes, documents, correct.
Think so. No, I mean no, you can't because the document in Appian we handle the document as an ID, so that has the ID of the document. But if you talk about the schema of this XST, I think there is an option for attaching, but that will not support in Appian. But as an XST, you can, I believe. Blog. That's that. I think that's a big LOB data type. Yeah, that's what that is blog. But it's not an base 64 strings. I don't think so. You can do that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now let's say I'm copying this particular element and then I'll put it here as its name as a middle name here. Okay. Everything is remains same. I just added it here, and now let's say I'm gonna create this name as a 3 and wt example 63. I'll just save this file. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to go to the Appian. Now here I'm going to create a new data type and then select the fourth option. I'll upload the XST file. So I will upload it from the one that we have saved. I'll say create. You see that now middle name is being added here. By using the XST file, we can create also CDT. So these are the fourth option basically to create a CDT. Okay, is that clear? Any questions? How do so if I ask you what is a CDT and how do we create them? Can you explain? Okay, who can answer this one now? What is a CDT?
It
CDT
is
is like we are collecting the
custom data type.
Can I speak, sir?
Sorry, yeah, I was on mute. So yeah, Surya, go ahead. What's the
Yeah,
CDT?
we are collecting multiple data types, primitive data types. So that is what custom data type.
Now
So we
I'm
can create.
let's say I'm asking you as an interviewer, right? I'll ask you.
Okay,
So what is a CDT? So how do you answer this?
like we are collecting the multiple data types, like primitive data types, like int, char, float.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like four types we can create, like creating from the scratch, and like we can
Okay.
duplicate the data type and
Okay.
create from the data type like table view, and we can also import from XSD.
Okay. Okay. Good enough. Who else wanted to try? I mean, what's the CDT? Someone else was also mentioning that. Sorry. It's just about how do you answer the question, right? Who else? No one? Okay. So, if they ask you what's the CDT, sometimes what they say that they can also ask for the, a full details like what is CDT, how do we create them, all those things. Now, if they don't ask, try to keep your answer very limited. Whatever they have asked, just to stick to it. If they ask you like what is a CDT, you can say that CDT is an acronym of custom data type, which is a collection of different primitive data types. Okay, this let them ask them more. If they tell you that okay, what else, then you can say okay, you know, we need a CDT because we in handling the multiple primitive database is not gonna easy. So we collectively, if you want to bring the information at one place, we use a CDT. And if you want to know more, then we there are 4 ways of creating a CDT. Likewise, you go it. Okay, all right, got it,
Yeah.
cool. All right. If you guys don't have any question on the CDT now let's move to the other object type. The other object type is called data store. All right. So what is a data store now? We also need see our if we are going to create our CDT by using the third option, database table or view. This is connected with the table, right? The link is there into the XST file. If you remember, we have seen that in the XST file that at the rate of table annotations was there, right? So this is connected, but we should be making a connection directly to the table so we can perform the read and write operation. The connection right now is that this particular CDT is copy of which table, okay? But now if you want to perform the read and write operation from that table, we should have our data store connections established so that we can bring the information from the table and we can also write the information to the table, okay, right? For that purpose, we need a data store, okay? Now let me show you how data store works. I have one image. Let me pull it up. Give me a second. Okay. So we have a database, right? This is called database that you can imagine this particular big box is a database. Can Appian MariaDB database, right? Cloud database it is. Now we have Appian Designer where we are working, we are creating objects, and then we are going to create a data store. Okay, so let's say in Appian we have these CDTs, different data types. Okay, and then we have a data store that we are going to create. So whenever we create a data store, we need to first mention that this data store is connected which data source. All right. So whenever we create a data store, we need to define that which data source it is going to be connected. So first of all, we will establish a link between this data store and then MariaDB. When the connection is established, we don't have to write any code for that. It's simple. We have to configure that, right? And then we can define which CDT is being connected which table by using an entity. So we in the data store, we will be creating one entity which will say that, okay, in this entity, this CDT is being connected with this particular table. It will be more clear when we see the one, once we create one, it will be clear to you. But this is how it works, okay? First of all, we create a data store and that data store will be get connected to the database, and each database we will be creating an entity to connect the establish the relationship between them. Okay, now let me show you how it works basically. Okay, now if you are going to create a new data store, I'll click the data store and I'll give the name as WTDS. I'll say data store for wire transaction application. Okay, now see it says data source. Which data source I want to connect? So I want to connect a Tomcat. Now let's say if you have added Oracle or SQL Server or any other thing by using the Admin console, if you have another, we can just select it here. Now as we have only the Tomcat Appian in-house, we select this one and say create. Once we create this, it will ask for the security. Okay, who can access this one? So WT users and administrator can have only access. Where the WT users will have the viewer role, they can only view it. They can perform a read and write, but they cannot modify, delete. But the WT administrator user will can delete as well. Okay, I'll say save. So once we save this data store, it will be get created. Now, if you remember the Excel sheet that I was showing to you, now this is being data store is being get created. Now it is also linked with the data source as a Tomcat. So that particular relation is being established. We don't have to do it. That's all. Now here we are gonna add an entity. Okay. So an entity, it says that what is the name of the entity you want to create. Now let's say I want to create an WT underscore LMS underscore employee underscore entity. So this is the name I have given. It doesn't require to be given underscore entity. It's just the name, and then it will say that what is the type of it. So the type we have to select the CDT that we have created. So we have created WT underscore LMS employee. If we select this one, I say OK and save this mapping. You need to select the verify. Once you click on verify, it says that entity mapping verified. It means that we need to click on save and publish. It means that the relation between the CDT and the table is being established. Now, if you want to perform read and write operation, we need to make use of this entity to perform the read and write operation. Okay, so this is what the entity is required for. Okay, is that clear? Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so if I ask you what is a data store, who can answer this? What is a data store? Come on, guys. Anything at least. No? Okay. So a data store is an object which requires to be established a connection between the table and the CDT so that a user can perform read and write operation. Okay. All right. All right, guys. I think this should be fine enough for today. Now let me know if you have any questions. Shall I move to the next topic? There are many more objects that we wanted to know. Not possible to cover all today, but yeah, we will continue from tomorrow onwards. We have many things. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead, guys. I mean, do you have any questions? Shall I stop sharing? Okay. If you guys don't have any questions, so on Monday we are planning for a holiday. It's on a holy. Okay. So are you guys available on Sunday as well? Yes, no?
Yes, sir. I'm fine with that. But let
Yeah,
us
I'm
see.
also fine with Sunday.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. How about Kirtana? Flashy? Because see, right now there are lots of festivals are coming on, right? So that's why I'm thinking to cover this weekend. So Flashy, Prashad,
Yeah, yes, yes, sir. I'm okay with that. No.
cool. Kirtana, you are also okay?
Yeah, yes, I'm fine.
Cool. Thanks, guys. All right, then we can have a class tomorrow as well. And we can continue tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah. Go ahead.
have a actually in if there is an application like we have to open an account in a bank. In
Mm-hmm.
that case, they will be asking about our our photo. We
Mm-hmm.
have to upload our photo as well.
Mm-hmm.
This case won't be able to application in Appian
No, we can,
because
right?
as
As
you
I
have
said, right?
said, we can.
See, as I said, right?
Uh,
And a photo can also be treated as a document. Okay, it's in a document that you are going to upload. So that document we can save as a document ID. So whenever we upload a document to the system, Appian has its own you know document folder where you can keep it, and it will generate an ID for you. So that ID you can store in the table as an integer type. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So we
Thanks.
have a file, folder upload option to show that photo. To upload any document, once you upload a document, it will be get captured as a document, and then we can have a document ID to display it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what I meant is that, as a direct document, because as a direct document, we have a base, we have to convert not only in Appian, any other language. If you want to upload any document to in a variable, you need to convert that to a base 64 string. Okay. So what happens is that any document you upload, it get converted to the base 64 string, which is a kind of a varchar, and then it will be a like type of blob, or you know blob is a kind of a higher version of varchar, where you can capture like thousands of characters. Okay, that's how it works. All right, good question, Kacha. Thank you. All right, guys, let's connect tomorrow then, as we decided to have a class on Monday as well. Sorry, Sunday as well. So we'll go with that, and Monday will be holiday. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for joining. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.